So I welcome everyone to the Alumni Speak series event on interview preparation. As you're aware, the last event that we had was when one of our alums, Mosmi Arora ma'am, she shared her insights about the interview and CV preparation. Our intention is to help the current students, both in their on-campus and off-campus placements in the areas of CV preparation, HR interviews, and technical interviews. This session will be focused more on the technical interview side. And for that, we have one alumni and one current student. We have Shruti, Joshi, and we have Jagriti, Tiwari, who are going to share their insights about how to prepare for technical interviews and also share a bit about the CV preparation and also share their insights about their experiences with Google, Amazon, and HUL. So Shruti is currently working at Google. Uh, Before that, she was working at Amazon, so she has experience with the interview process for Google and Amazon. Whereas Jagriti has been selected as an executive trainee with HUL. So those would be the focus companies for today's session, but they will also cover in general. So with this, I would like to thank Shruti and Jagriti for giving their time today. I'm very sure this session will be very, very useful for the attendees because of the simple reason that I think everyone at IET intends to get a nice job, be it on campus or off campus. And I think what Shruti and Jagriti would share is their experience with applying to companies like Amazon, Google, Amazon, Google, and HUL. Sorry, and also that would also give you an idea about even if you are not getting an on-campus placement, there are ways to apply off-campus and get jobs with these reputed companies. So then, without further ado, I would ask Shruti and Jagriti to take the stage now. And then maybe just to give a context, so firstly, Shruti and Jagriti would introduce themselves, just tell a bit about, you know, where they're working right now or what they're doing, and of course, some of the tips for interview preparation and job application, which they would of course cover in this, their slides. So first they can introduce themselves, then we can start with the slides, and later on, for the last 30 minutes or so, we'll have a Q&A session. You also have the Slido link, which has been posted in the chat. So you can also put your questions there, or you can also ask them live. All right, over to you, Shruti first, and then Jagriti.
Okay, great. So before my introduction, I think thanks a lot, Divyabh and the entire coordinating team for having these Alumni Speak series. It'll definitely be beneficial for all of us here. And so, hi everyone, I am Shruti. I graduated last year from IET. My branch was Electronics and Communication Engineering. So I started my first job at Amazon, as you all know, and I recently joined Google and I've been working here as a software development engineer. I'll try to share with you all the tips that I have. I hope that you find something beneficial in your preparation journey as well from today's talk. So, yeah, over to you, Jagriti.
Thank you, ma'am. First of all, thank you, IT Alumni Association and Divyabh sir for bringing this opportunity and this platform. It's really good, nice initiative for the students. And my name is Jagriti Tiwari, and I have been selected as executive trainee at Hindustan Unilever, and I am belong to Varanasi, and I completed my schooling there. I'm a current final year student at IIT, and for job application, I would like to suggest keep your job search focused in a specific area, and also learn relevant skills required as per the job. So that's it. Over to you,
Good.
Sam.
So then maybe then Shruti, you can start with your presentation, and let's try to maybe wrap it up in 20-25 minutes, like both of you combined, right? Because I think the number of slides are not that many, and then we can give more and more time for the question and answers. Yeah,
Sure.
over to you.
Okay, great. So this is mostly focused on off-campus searches for jobs. I'll start with my Amazon interview experience here. When you're applying at a software development role for 0 to 3 year experience, the level that you will be hired at Amazon would be at L4 level. So, application wise, go to amazon.jobs portal. I have attached the link in this slide itself, and look for openings at L4 level and year of experience as 0 to 3 year, or sometimes there are specific openings for diversity hiring that would be only for girls, or specific openings for fresh graduates. So if you're graduating, so if you graduated this year in 2021 or 2022, there might be special links for job openings for you all. So that is the way you apply at Amazon off campus. And of course, share the job ID with some people on LinkedIn and try to get referral that will help you boost your application in their system. So I got my test link when I applied through the diversity hiring drive. So all the girls that are here, do look out on their LinkedIn pages if you see any diversity hiring, not just for Amazon but Microsoft, Google. I think a lot of companies are doing that now. Um, Once your resume is shortlisted, you go to the next stage, which is your online test screening. So it would be a very simple test, 2 to 3 coding questions, which will be of easy to medium level. So if you have been practicing for 6 7 months, you will be easily able to crack this round as well. Now, as for the interviews, now when I gave my interview, the COVID situation was still under control. So I had an on-site interview, which was in Delhi. So all four technical rounds for me were taken in a single day. But I think if you apply now, you will have some time between each of these technical rounds. But there is one thing about Amazon's interview, it's that each of these technical round is going to be an elimination round. So if you do not perform well in, let's say, the second or third round, you won't be giving your final fourth round. So that is how it goes. And apart from the four technical rounds at Amazon, you will not have a specific HR or behavioral round. Um, so for the content of all four of these rounds, difficulty level is exactly the same. You will have 45 minutes. You will get two coding questions for sure. If you do well in the first two, you will be asked a third coding question. The difficulty level will be medium to hard here. So prepare accordingly. You should be able to come up with the solution for these questions, as well as write a working code, not a pseudo code in a sheet of paper, or if you're giving it online, you must have a shared document with your interviewer to do that. So that's about it. Mostly focused on DSA logical problem solving, but there is one more thing. Briefly, in these interview rounds, like for my first two rounds, there was no discussion on resume or any subject specific questions, but in the later two rounds, there were 10 to 15 minutes reserved for discussion on my resume. So have at least one project in your resume that you can talk about for 10 minutes, and that you have in-depth knowledge of each and every technology used in that particular project. So that happened in my third round. I was asked to explain one of the projects, and I had done a couple of projects in eYantra, so I used one of those. And for all the non-CSE students, one more advice that I would want to give. In my interview, I was asked a specific question which was for DBMS, and I had not studied that subject because we did not have that in our curriculum. So it is okay for you to go and say that you haven't studied this subject. In my case, I told them that I'm not familiar with DBMS, but you can ask me questions related to OS or networking because I had done these subjects. So go ahead and do that, and yep, that should work. Mm, we can move to the next slide. That was about Amazon. I'll explain a little more in the later slides about your preparation part, but I'll now move to the interview experience for Google. Now, applying at Google, again, each company has their jobs website. Go to that and ask for referral on LinkedIn. In my case, it was a little different because a recruiter at Google reached out to me on LinkedIn about an open role in their organization and asked me if I would be interested to give the interview. So that is one of the reasons why you should keep your LinkedIn updated, because my profile matched with their job opening so they could reach out to me. So do that, keep your LinkedIn profiles updated. That is how I got the call. And so Google has a very involved interview process. I would say it took a total of 4 months for from my first round to my to getting the offer letter at Google. At Amazon it took just a month. So the first round at Google would be a telephonic round. What happens in your telephonic round is your recruiter will ask you some questions. um, these won't be coding related questions. These are since you're applying for a software engineering role, these will be related to CS subjects. So questions like runtime complexity of some algorithm, or when would you use breadth first search over Dijkstra? Questions like that will be asked just to gauge if you're ready to give the coding rounds or not. So that's about the first. Um, Once you clear your first round, your recruiter will let you know if they are moving ahead with the application or not. And second round that will be set up for you will be a screening round. So this round happens on Google Meet only. You won't be going on site for this. In this round, you will get 1 to 2 coding questions. I'd say medium to hard level here. And this is a 45 minutes round. If you perform well, then you finally reach to these rounds known as the 4 on-site rounds for Google. Now, if you manage to clear the first 2 rounds, now your selection depends on the cumulative results of all of the further rounds. The 3 coding rounds are not elimination rounds like it was at Amazon. So based on your performance for all 3 rounds, they will decide if you will be hired or not. Again, these 3 coding rounds would be, I'd say, difficulty level would be the same as that was there at Amazon, but these questions will be relatively new. Um, it might happen that in your Amazon interview, you might get exact same questions that you saw somewhere on Geeks for Geeks, but that will definitely not happen when you are interviewing for Google. So those won't be very hard questions, but those will be new questions that you have to understand, come up with the logic, and then again write a working code for that as well. All right. So once you're done with that, one round that we did not have at Amazon is this behavioral round. A lot of companies have behavioral rounds. Even I think during on-campus placements as well, there might have been some companies which have a dedicated HR round that you have to give. So be prepared for this round. So questions like tell me about yourself, tell me about a time you were stuck in a difficult situation, how did you get out of it, how do you handle deadlines. So these are the kind of questions that might be asked during behavioral round. um, One suggestion that I would give is follow this star method whenever you're answering any questions in behavioral rounds. So that will help you in putting down your story in a well defined manner. So start by defining the situation, then the task that you had in hand, then what action you took, and finally the result that you delivered. For any behavioral round, go about using this technique. You will do good in these rounds, and of course practice a lot before any behavioral interview. Don't just take it for granted. Yep. So after these rounds at Google, you will finally be told if you are selected or not. If you are selected, you move to the final round, which is known as the hiring manager round. Now, what happens in hiring manager round is there are multiple teams that might have openings. So managers from those teams will set up one-to-one meetings with you all. it's a two-way discussion now. You should also agree to working in that project, and the manager should also like your profile. Once that is finalized, you finally get your offer from Google. Yep. So, um, a general advice for both these interviews and also for any other coding interviews that you guys might have to give. 45 minutes is a very small amount of time to be solving 2 3 questions completely. So when your interview just starts, don't give a very long introduction, don't waste time in that, save your questions for the end of the interview. So yeah, keep in mind that you're time bound over here. Next slide. Okay, so some tips on job applications. So firstly, I know a lot of companies do not visit our campus right now, but what you have to remember is that a lot of people in my batch and in 2021 batch have managed to get really good jobs. So you can find jobs offline. Just keep looking for openings, and if you are still in your second or third year, you guys have a lot of time to build these skills along with practicing your coding question. Like coding practice can is always a must, but along with that you should also build work on some specific skill, build expertise in that. So do that, and expand your LinkedIn network. Of course, keep stay connected with all the alumni. Look out for job openings for fresh graduates, as that will have less competition and it will be easier for you to get in. Whenever you have gained a new skill or you did any internship, keep that thing updated in your resume. Add your resume in your LinkedIn profiles. And a very important point is, when you're applying for your dream company or a company that you really want to be in, just remember that all of these companies have some cool off period. So if you did not make it through the interview, you might have to wait for 6 to 12 months before you can appear for the interviews again. um, yep, so only give these interviews when you're really confident that you will be able to crack it. Next slide. Okay, so this is the technical interview preparation. There's there's a plethora of material right now available online, so it might get overwhelming as to which one you should choose. My suggestion is go with Lead Code and Geeks for Geeks. They have a lot of questions for practicing, and one good thing is they have a good community, so you can always get alternate solutions to the same kind of questions. So just use these two platforms. Start by solving easy questions first, move to medium and then hard. No need to buy premium subscription. I think for free as well, there are a lot of questions for you to practice. So use these two platforms. Um, Now, building speed is also important. I remember when I was in my second year, I used to code on CodeChef. I used to do long challenges, but that was not helping me with the speed. So I would suggest that today itself start doing virtual contests on Code Forces. So these are timed contests. You would get 2 hours to solve, I think, 5 6 questions. So that will help you realize if your speed is good enough to crack those interviews or not. Again, focus on DSA. You should know the data structure in and out, but looking at a particular problem, you should also be able to recognize which data structure you should apply to it. So that comes only by practicing. So focus on that, keep practicing. And here I've attached a link to a video. So this will help you time your preparation. Like I know that people who are already in their final year have less time to prepare. So you will have a different preparation strategy than those who are still in their second and third year. So this video might be handy for all of you to decide how much time to spend and what all topics to focus on depending on how much time you have. Next slide. Okay, so some tips on CV preparation. I have attached the resume that I used during my job applications when I was in my final year. So a few basic things. Only add sections that are relevant to the job that you're applying for. So there for most of the applications you might not need to add extracurricular section or hobbies in your resume, so don't do that. Highlight the impact of each project. So if you did an internship, but if you were selected from a pool of thousands of students and only 20 people got a chance to get that internship, then do mention that in your resume. um, Also, if you gave any coding contest, then what was the rank that you secured? Do that. Impact is really important. um, yeah. And of course you can some basic things. I think a lot of good points were already shared in the last talk in CV preparation, but basic things like maintain the chronological order, have links to Git repository. I just added my links because we apply online only everywhere, so that might come in handy for the person reviewing your resume. So do that. And added this link to LaTeX. You can prepare your resume in a Word document as well, but I think LaTeX is a really great tool to prepare your resume, and especially for formatting it in a neat way. So do go through this. They have multiple templates available that might be really helpful for you all. Yep. I think this was the last slide for me.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Shruti. I think a lot of important points uh, centered around maintaining your proper LinkedIn profile, then also use the STAR method. And just to also let everyone know, in our previous session by our alumni, we spoke about specifically the STAR method, wherein we also did the role play. STAR method is very important tool, not just for companies like Amazon and Google. It just gives you a good structure when you go to any interview, right? So if you follow that, then the recruiter would know that, okay, yes, at least this guy or the girl knows how to answer a question in a structured manner. And
Yeah.
they really love structure, right? If you can distinguish yourself from the 80% crowd, then definitely your chances of getting a job already amplifies. So very important points, Shruti. And just for everyone, we also have the link to the slides, so that you can go through some of the links that Shruti has mentioned in her slides and benefit from that. Cool. So now over to Jagriti to discuss more about HUL and in general job application strategies and interview preparation.
Thank you, sir. Okay, for HUL, the job profile which I have been selected as executive training, and it the HUL conduct its training at two stages. Stage one was resume-based shortlisting, in which GPA and external projects which you have done other than the academics plays a vital role. It means you have to maintain a decent grades during your graduation. And second was the enrollment form screening. It was a 4 to 5 pages long form in which it consists basic details, your education details, the projects you have done, and if any summer internships has been done by you. Apart from that, the most important part of the form was 8 to 10 HR questions that has been asked in the form. You have to write the answers like what are your short-term and long-term goals, what did bring your thinking while choosing this career. These kind of questions were asked in this form, and this behavioral questions is asked only in this form. So it is an eliminating round. You have to answer these questions really very confidently and honestly. You cannot fake your answers here because there is one question like, do you have any plans for future education like post graduation or any research program? So if you answer like, I'm confused now, I don't have any plans, I don't have any plans, but I look over in some time, they will just reject you there because they want someone who will join their offer. So you have to answer each question smartly. And in the form, you have to highlight your skills, achievements, and results while describing your project. Just don't mention it like roughly, I have done this project from that place. Mention that outcome, that what were the facts and figures you concluded from that project. Uh, in stage two, first was the assessment using HiU. They screen the students based on their video recorded responses. In this, we were provided three questions, and we have to answer these questions in 20 minutes. Per question, 1 minute was given for reading and preparing, and 3 minutes for answering. The question were mainly based on business analytics, and some were the questions which test your analytical thinking. Like if this situation is given to you, if you have to shift your industry to a particular place, what will be your approach? These kind of questions were asked, and so you have to prepare for that. This preparation can be done using YouTube videos. Some are provided there, and yes, this is also an eliminating round. After this, we were panel interview was conducted. In panel interview, it doesn't mine doesn't last long. It was 20-minute interview. In this first, after introduction, they asked me to brief my project, what projects I have done. So you have to choose the projects accordingly. If you have done couple of projects, then choose that project which will align with the mission and vision of the company. Like I have done the ONGC project also, but I didn't mention first there. I mentioned my IIT research intern project there because it was based on the energy sector, which HUL is working right now. So it worked for me. If we have done some project which is aligning with companies' work or vision, then you should mention it there first. And after that project discussion, they moved with technical question from the core subject. Like I'm from chemical engineering, so they asked me questions from the heat transfer, thermodynamics, and few questions from the CRE. You can prepare that subjects well because questions were asked from the core subjects. And after the interview, you will get a call or offer later in 2 to 3 days. They will tell who has been selected or not. It doesn't take long by HUL, but the whole process took at least a month, and each round contained four rounds there, each 2 rounds per stage. So take a month during the whole process. In 1 month, you will get a call from HUL, and this was an on-campus process, so uh, things go smoothly with me. I hadn't searched for it on LinkedIn, etc. So, sir, can we move to the next slide? Sir, next slide. Okay, how to prepare for technical interviews. So for core branches, we have different strategies to prepare for technical interview. Like there are many different sectors, FMCG, fertilizers, paper and pulp industries, and interviews for each of these industries goes differently. Like if you are going for FMCG, they will ask some for different subject. If you are going for technical interview in fertilizers, they will ask questions from the chemical technology, from chemical engineering branch, or from fertilizers questions. So you have to prepare differently. But the common things I can share with you for technical interview is, firstly, keep your engineering basics strong. You have to brush up your all the fundamental subjects. Like from chemical engineering, you can go for the heat transfer, thermodynamics, CRE, and from mechanical background, you may go for the fluid mechanics, heat transfer, etc. So second, many in or most of the interviews they ask for your favorite subjects. So prepare at least two subjects from your core branch to be on safer side. Like you can't just go with the one subject. Say I have prepared this, so you just ask me from that subject. Sometimes they can ask you some other subjects also. So prepare at least two. And apart from that core technical questions, company ask to you about companies some brand related questions. So research well about the company's mission and vision, the products and goods, the services they produce. You must know it. Like in my case, they asked me what are the products Hindustan Unilever produce. So you have to tell them there. If you don't answer it, they just guess that students is not interested in that particular company. And the next one is if you have worked on any technical project or you have done any internship, then know every bit of it because my interview was mostly conducted in 20 minutes and 10 minutes of it was asked based on the technical projects I have done. They have questioned me half of the time of interview on technical projects that I have done, and they just ask you everything. You should know the methodology, theories, and the principle in which you have used in your projects. And if you don't know anything, then don't dwell on it. Don't fake your expertise there. Just say that politely that you don't know. They understand that it is very difficult to remember all the subjects you had studied in the for couple of years. So just keep it simple. Interviews is a conversation between you and interviewer. It is not an interrogation. They don't want to judge you. They just want to know that how much you have well versed about that company, how much you know about the subjects. Just know the fundamentals of it. So next slide. Okay, some of the tips on in CV preparation. As Shruti ma'am has already mentioned some of the basic things, so I'll keep it short. Some basic do's and don'ts. First is keep it short and concise. Nobody is interested in a long story. Make it short. Tell the important points. Keep it to the point, and always keep a positive approach in CV. Customize your resume regularly. If you are doing any project or doing any internship, customize it regularly and just update it there. Highlight your achievements. If you have done any of the things which can relate to your job profile, then mention it there and include your contact details, LinkedIn ID, which is very important because some of the recruiters just go and check your LinkedIn ID that how much you have achieved, you are updated with the industry or not. Proofread your resume multiple times because some of the times there is some grammatical error and then that doesn't show any good impact on recruiter. So check it out, and you can just ask somebody else to read it out for you also if you can't spot it at your nose. And some don'ts. Uh, don't use any complicated resume templates. Nobody is interested in your fancy templates. Keep it basic and simple, and don't go over 2 pages. As it has been said that 1 page is good, but you have more experience or more things to share, then you can go to the 2 pages, and that is sufficient. Don't mention any unnecessary or irrelevant soft skill, and avoid too long and sometimes people just use a long objective or summary statements. Just don't avoid also. Keep it short, keep it concise, and make it simple. People just don't give so much time on your resume. So it should be nicely and neatly, cleanly mention all your points so that it attracts the recruiter. That's it from my point.
Good. So, yeah, there were a lot of important things that you shared, Jagriti. So, thank you for that. And like one of the key things that you shared was that whenever you're going for an interview, just research about the company, right? And sometimes if you do it very smartly, you don't need more than, yeah, I mean, like more than even half an hour for that, right? A very nice way to research about the company is just to put something that you need to search, or maybe the company name, and click on the news section. That gives you good idea about why the company has been in the news recently. And very smartly, if you can play that around in your interview, that totally stands you apart from all the other I mean that yeah, so I mean all the other interviewees might not have researched so much about the company, but like these little things, and also just to also showcase your best project, right? Because when you are at the college level and you don't have work experience, then a couple of things that would be definitely asked is, of course, about your subjects. So, like you mentioned, your engineering subjects, like at least two or three subjects, should be very much ready. Second, about your project, and just to show that project which is relevant to the company profile. And third, about your internship, right? So if you can sell that internship well, because in the third year internship is mandatory, and I mean even at the end of second year you can do internship. So good points. With this, I would like to thank once again Jagriti and Shruti for sharing valuable points. Now we would go to the Q&A session. Before we take up the questions on Slido, there are like many questions. Is there any live question that someone wants to ask? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question, and then we can go to the Slido questions as well. Okay, so then maybe Shivam sir, we can you share, yeah, perfect. Okay, so Shruti and Jagriti, just randomly, whichever question you want to take, you can take, or even both of you can quickly comment on this. So first as well, I wanted to ask Shruti ma'am, how did she manage CP, E-Yantra and B-Tech? I saw on E-Yantra YouTube channel that she also did CP. So I'm not sure what CP means, but Shruti, maybe you can answer
Okay.
this.
CP is competitive programming only. So I think during BTech, we get a lot of time. I remember for semesters, we only started studying 2-3 weeks before we actually had the semester exam. So throughout your semester, you get a lot of time. I remember in my fifth semester, I was doing one project at Eyantra. I was doing my SIH project. I was practicing CP and also managed my curriculum. So there is enough time if you manage it properly. Um, of course, do not waste time because these final 2 years at your college are going to be really crucial in defining your career path. So,
If you don't
yeah.
waste your time. Good comment, Shashi sir. Perfect. Good. Thanks, Shruti. Any insights on how to publish research paper while still in college? College, watched a video on YouTube but didn't get anything. Question. Maybe any of you? Yeah.
Sir, may I?
Yes, of
Yeah,
course.
sure.
Please.
Okay, so if you want to publish research paper while still in college, so there are two kinds of paper you can publish. One is review paper and one is research paper. Research paper gets little difficult because you need data facts based on your own experiments, but you can review a paper of someone else, and that will also that should also accredit your resume to a good profile. You can do that. You can ask your professors also. They
Yeah.
work on multiple projects at a time.
Yeah. I mean, it
Also,
could. Yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead.
get in. Of course, the points that Jagriti said, get in touch with professors. One more thing where eYantra might also help you in this because I remember a lot of people who made projects at eYantra along with me ended up publishing papers on them. So do participate in eYantra. Like it's an annual competition. If irrespective of which branch you are in, you can participate.
Good. Also, just a side comment to everyone. So when you go on this Slido link, you can also upvote the good questions so that they come first, and definitely we'll be able to cater to those questions, if not the whole list. So if you like some questions, even if you don't have any question, just press on the like button so that it's upvoted. That's why this question has come up, how to perform well in internships in order to get PPO from the company. Okay. Has any one of you done an internship? Shruti or Jagrati?
Yep.
Good.
So There is no specific, like if you have a pool of people who are in there in the internship and only three or four are going to get selected, then it will definitely get very competitive. You have to give your best. I remember people would not even sleep at night, the interns that we had at Amazon, because for them it is very competitive to get the PPO. Again, all on your hard work that you're putting in that company.
Yeah, and just to add a point here, in my time, I did two internships. That was like from 2005 to 2009 mechanical. One at the end of my second year, which was not a necessary thing, but I still did it just to improve my chances in the interview. And the third at the end of third year was with Tata Motors. What I would say is that just treat your internship one from the aspect of learning. Be very curious, try to question things, try to talk to your mentor in the company, etc. Learn things. Second, put in your 200%, right? And it's not just about PPO. You may or may not get the PPO, depends on the company's policies, but what you will carry after the internship would be really, really substantial. So, and not taking too much time. When I did my internship at Tata Motors at the end of third year, there was no policy of the PPO, right? But I got the campus placement from Larsen and Toubro. I joined L&T in 2009, worked there for 1 year, and in 2010 I interviewed for Tata Motors, Lucknow, and I got in Tata Motors in 2010. Worked there for 3 years, and there it helped. I mean, they knew about my performance in the internship, and that was a very important aspect to to get a job. And I could also relate well to them because I know about their system, I know about the policies, I know about the vendor management, quality, etc. So give your 100%, learn, be curious, and don't worry about the PPO. You will definitely get the PPO if there is a policy. Sometimes the policy is not there, so internships always help. Yeah, so as many as you can do through alums, through online platforms, LinkedIn, etc. Do it. Okay, then, ma'am, what are the steps to follow if you want to do internship in any of these companies during our third or fourth year? So very quickly, Shruti, Jagriti.
I think for Amazon, Google, process will still be the same. Have good projects with you, at least two very good projects that you can show in your resume as well as discuss. Application process is again the same. Internship job IDs are also listed in the on these websites, the jobs website.
Perfect. Do you have
Mm,
some points to add, Jagriti, or?
Yeah, yes, it gets little difficult to get a internship in this FMCG in core branches because there is lots of competition and they are very low opening. So you can ask the manager directly or you can mail there. But if you didn't get that, you can go for the ONGC internship, any research internship in IITs, ISC. That would be working for you.
Yeah, good. Ma'am, is second year too late to start coding?
Not at all. I started coding very seriously for interviews in, I think, sixth semester, when I was doing 5, 6 practice problems every day. Second year is, you have a lot of time if you're in second year, so don't worry about that.
Good. So, Mr. or Miss Anonymous, you are not too late. You can even start now, right? So, all good. Thanks, Shruti. Any insights on how to, this is already done. Then we have बाद में याद आता है कि ये बोल देते, वो बोल देते, पर जब इंटरव्यू चल रहा होता है तब सही आंसर याद नहीं आता है. So my question is how we can. So basically, your point is that maybe sometimes you get nervous or sometimes you're blank, and then you are not able to express yourself in the same manner as you want to express. So in, and this is a very normal problem. It happens at the current student level, also at, I mean, for instance, I passed out in 2009, right? And sometimes it happens even now, right? So it's completely normal. But what I would just say, and then Shruti and Jagriti, you can answer. just I think one thing that really works is to prepare well, right? If you're prepared well, then you are more confident, right? And preparation is composed of a lot of these factors which were discussed by Shruti and Jagriti. If you prepare it in a methodical manner, then you are reassured. Then tum nahi bhuloge. You will be like, okay, I have the confidence, and then eventually just leave it to God, right? Matlab, you can't be like the star performer, right? If you think that, if you pressurize your mind so much that मुझे तो सबसे आगे ही रहना है, मुझे तो जॉब चाहिए ही हर हालत में, I have to be the best, then you will get nervous, then it will be bland. Just be very calm, composed. A lot of other things like meditate before the interview, take deep breaths, stay confident. If you have some problem of stage fear, etc., no problem, everyone has it, right? It's just that you try to say what you want to say slowly and just like take deep breaths, meditate karo, and everything would be fine. And like Shruti and Jagriti, please add if you want to add to this.
I think you covered most of it.
Perfect. मैम सीपी के क्वेश्चन का लॉजिक नहीं समझ में आता, क्या करें? सेकंड ईयर आ गया है, शुड आई गिव अप ऑन सीपी?
So definitely do not give up on CP. Any interview you give, CP coding करनी ही होगी. Just keep CP and coding as two separate fields. You do not have to be 5-6 stars on CodeChef or have a very good rating on Codeforces to crack interviews. Do not stop coding is what I would say. Don't aim at having a very high rating in coding platforms, but keep practicing because that you will need for your interviews. So do not give up.
Good. And then, ma'am, how to prepare for general behavior or situational questions? So one, of course, Shruti shared is the STAR method. But if there's anything else, Jagriti, you want to add, or Shruti? Yeah.
Yes, sir. For behavioral question, STAR method is good. And for situational question, you can go for some of the websites. They have some questions, more questions like that, and you can just go through that. It will help.
And also, could you mention the names of the website?
For HUL, I preferred YouTube video. There they have told some situational questions they have been faced in their interview. So you can go through that videos. They are available easily.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube has a lot of resources.
Yes.
Okay. Ma'am, is there a good source of for doing the project work other than e-yantra?
There are many options available now. I specifically mention eYantra because they give you a very long span of time to learn a technology, and also they ship you equipment so you can actually build something, and they offer you internships, and it is from IIT Bombay. But there is SIH, there are a lot of hackathons that are organized, and there is this thing called FOSSI which has open source projects that you can contribute to. So you can look up to these options as well.
Okay. Ma'am, exact resources and coding platforms you said for preparation. So you have already mentioned, I guess, but yeah, do that.
Yep, exactly. Lead code geeks for practicing, and code forces for timing yourself. Stick to 2 or 3 only. Don't go after a lot of platforms. You'll just get confused.
And Shruti, meanwhile, Jagriti answers the next question. You can also type it in the comments so that people know.
Yep.
Thanks. Jagriti, ma'am, are you preparing for GATE also?
Yes, I'm preparing for GATE examination also.
Good. I think that was the question. But we also had a session on GATE. We in fact had 2 sessions on GATE, so I'm pretty sure a lot of you people were also in those sessions. Hello, ma'am. I wanted to know how you managed EC studies with CP and development. So CP is very popular, it seems.
Yeah. it's a
Shruti.
very important skill to get jobs in CS, like software engineering. So CP is important. ECE studies, like I mentioned, I mostly occupied myself with projects throughout the semester, and I only started studying my subjects 3-4 weeks before the exams. I do not know if that will work for everyone or not, but that is how I managed it. And always keep 1-2 hours every day dedicated to practicing coding, because you are going to need that for your interview.
Okay, so first part of next question I don't understand. Does the EC branch have affected any way in getting placement? So do you, I mean, if you can unmute yourself, like you can also explain this question. Um, EC branch have affected any way? I mean, if you are an
I
EC
I
think
think
branch,
I think
get
the question is, since the original speaker is not speaking up, I think what I get out of it is that ECs versus CS, like she not being in CS, was that roadblock or a
okay,
hindrance in any way getting a CS specific job, coding specific job.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Even I had this concern when I was giving my interview. So no, it will not at all affect. EC is very closely related to CS, so you do not have to worry about that. And I even asked my interviewer if having EC as a branch in my resume affects my resume being shortlisted. So they confirmed that no. So that is not a limitation.
okay, good. Coding questions are very common and important for good companies. How can I prepare for them if I'm not from? So I think this question has been answered by Shruti through the coding platforms, etc. So you can use those. Jagriti, ma'am, can you share your CV? Yeah,
Um,
maybe Jagriti, if
I
you
have.
want.
Uh, it will be difficult to share my CV here, but I have mentioned most of my projects and internships at my LinkedIn. You can connect me there.
Cool. How do you see the differences in jobs between core companies such as Google, Apple, Microsoft with consulting companies like TCS? Okay, good question. Shruti,
I'll answer it. I think you might also be able to answer this one. Um, you have a very steep learning curve when you're working in a product based company like Google, Amazon. Right from the point that you join, you are given a lot of responsibilities and you're expected to onboard very quickly. So it will be not just the CTC, but the learning experience that you get in these companies is just amazing. And you get to work with the brightest people around. So, yep, there's a huge difference.
and we also have Shashi sir in the call who has a lot of experience working with software companies. If you also want to answer, sir, feel free to do so, or probably you can also answer in the end in case you want to add some points. So then the next is number of times we make ourselves ready for technical interviews. But how can I prepare for behavioral interview? So like Shruti and Jagriti mentioned, STAR method, um, and also like practicing in your groups with your fellow students, maybe your seniors, and then maybe Shruti and Jagriti, if you want to add some points here, like preparation for behavioral interviews. And you can also use YouTube, like Jagriti mentioned. There are a lot of these sample questions which you can take and learn. But the key, I mean, what I could say, in fact, in our last session on behavioral interview, we had shared a Word document which had a list of around 30 questions, 30 behavioral questions. So I'm not sure how many of you attended that, but that can also be a good resource. Feel free to connect with the Alumni Association website, or maybe Shivam sir offline or me. We can also share that again. But yeah, just make a list of the questions, practice, and use these online resources available. How important is it to know about the company I'm interviewing with? Does it help in the interview process? Maybe Shruti, Jagriti, feel free to add some points here.
Yeah, I mean, it puts a very good impression on the interviewer if you already know about the company. So, anywhere if you have HR or behavioral round and you're able to at least tell who's the chairman or CEO of that company, that really tells that you did your research and you're interested in the profile. So, it helps, like Divyabh also mentioned earlier.
And for FMCG, it is very important because they ask that how much you know about their company, if you are interested in it or not. Because in my case, I have been asked questions from the company's products, so you must know about it. And to know about it, you can go for their social media handles. It is a good platform to know about it, the products and services it offers, the recent initiative that taken by them. You can take help from that place.
Okay, good. So we are almost at the end of the session. In case there are any live questions, if someone wants uh, to ask any question, feel free to do so without any hesitation. Okay, so if there are no questions, I would like to thank once again Shruti and Jagriti for the session. Very, very relevant points you both discussed. And just for everyone, Shruti and Jagriti would be also part of the YAP group that we will be creating for the interview preparation, CV, etc. And they would be our experts who would be able to answer your queries, your questions, and I would like to thank them in advance for that. So do join YAP if you have not. Do join Alumni Speak series group or yeah, I mean group on YAP, and also join the CV and interview preparation group so that you have real-time resolutions to your questions during the job application process, etc. And feel free to share this word with your fellow batchmates because our intention as alums and as part of the alumni association is basically to help you in whichever way we can. um, but the steps have to be taken by you. We can guide you, support you, we can be there for you, but you have to take the initiative, and we wish you all the best.